Hello. For today's lesson, we are going to continue with the rhythm that we were introduced to at the end of last lesson, or probably 2 lessons ago, because I think some of us have been looking at the Hall of the Mountain King for a week. So the week before half term, we were looking at the Popadom rhythm. So we're going to do a little bit more with the Popadom. And if you remember, I also mentioned that we're going to look at an extra dynamic this time. So dynamics, to remind you, are the loud and the quiet sounds that help to make our music a lot more interesting. And the ones that we've been working at exclusively so far have been F, which was forte, which was Italian for loud, and we had P for piano, which was Italian for quiet. So we could make our music more interesting by having quiet sections and loud sections. Now we're going to have a look at a third dynamic now, and this is an MF. Looks a bit like that. And MF is short for mezzo forte. So mezzo in Italian is spelled, excuse my wobbling camera, mezzo is spelled M-E-Z-Z-O. Another example of a word with double Z in it is pizza, probably the most popular example of a double Z word, but you wouldn't necessarily call it pizza, even though it's got 2 Z's in it. So it makes a kind of TS sound. So mezzo forte. And the word mezzo means that it's going to, there's lots of posh ways of saying this, but I think one way of thinking of it is to say that it lessens the effect of the forte. So forte should mean that it's loud. Mezzo forte means it's not quite as loud. Other ways people think about it are things like saying it's moderately loud, and I like to use the word nearly loud. So I think of mezzo forte as being nearly loud. So if this was where forte was and this was where piano was, then nearly loud would be almost forte, not quite as loud as forte. And in our first couple of pieces that we're going to look at, we have 3 different levels. We have piano, mezzo forte and forte. So you could just think of mezzo forte as being somewhere in the middle, but it actually belongs to a group of more dynamics. I'm going to see if I can put all 6 dynamics up here. Now don't worry, we're not going to think about them all straight away, but if you can see if you can spot whereabouts in that P falls, which was piano, and then see if you can find forte, which will be a little bit further up, and then MF, mezzo forte, is almost as loud as forte, and the one that we're not really going to be dealing with apart from when I mention it now is mezzo piano, which means almost quiet, nearly quiet, moderately quiet. So there are 6 different levels of dynamics here, and it's actually quite a challenge to perform 6 different levels of dynamics using just our hands and our bellies and our claps and things like that. So we might not be looking at all 6, but it's useful to know about them. We'll talk about them in a future lesson. So for now, I'm going to see if I can clap some rhythms using my bunny ears. So if I put 2 fingers in each hand, I'm going to keep my fingers close together as well, which should keep the dynamic nice and quiet. So if I tried a rhythm for you to copy back using just 2 fingers in each hand, it might sound like this. My bunny ears have come to life. Okay, and if we wanted to do forte, I'm going to use my whole hand, not think about how many fingers I'm using. I'm just going to use the whole hand and clap it back. So here comes some forte copies, some loud copies. So clapping our hands is probably one of the loudest sounds we can make just with our bodies. So if I tried to find something that was nearly loud, I've been having a quick go at this. I'm wondering let's see what 3 fingers sounds like. It's a special kind of salute if you're in the Cubs. Might have changed now. That's what you did in the Cubs in the early 1980s. They may well do the same thing. You can write in and let me know. So if I use 3 fingers in each hand, That to me sounds louder than this one, but I'm also just using a bit more energy for the sound. But no matter how hard I try with these 3 fingers, it's never going to be as loud as a whole clap. Okay, so I use the word energy there as well. And energy is something that's really important to think about and remember when we're performing dynamics and thinking about dynamics. Because sometimes if people are playing percussion instruments, they might just think, oh, you have to hit it harder. So when it says forte, you think you want to hit it harder. But a hit isn't really going to make you a good sound. Might be an effective sound for some things, but it's not a very musical sound. And if you're playing on a woodwind instrument, because we've been thinking about woodwind instruments this week as well, if you had a saxophone, it's my invisible saxophone, and you thought, I'm going to blow down as hard as I can, then you might get a big honky sound, but it's not going to be a very pleasant sound necessarily. Woodwind players would say that you are overblowing. So it's like you're not in control of what's going on. When you sneeze, that's an example of a kind of uncontrolled, loud sound. Also not a particularly safe sound, because these days sneezes go like that, don't they? Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned a sneeze. So, back to our 3 levels of dynamics. I've got my piano. I'm going to use 3 fingers and give them a bit more energy for my mezzo forte, and I'm going to use a full-blown clap. See, it says full-blown for a louder dynamic. A full-blown clap for the forte. Okay, let's see how we get on. I think we'll have a bit of music as well and see what this sounds like. It's that one again. I can't change the dynamic of our accompaniment of our backing track, so I'm going to leave it where it is and show you where the dynamics are here. So I think we'll start off with a loud one first, so this is going to be the full-blown clap. Here it comes. Ready, steady, off I go. Now bread, now bread, now bread, bread. Very good. So I was finding then there was a little bit more to think about and to concentrate on, because as well as listening to the rhythms, our nombres and our rises and our rests, we had to work out how loud each pattern was. But it helped me because I make up these patterns on the spot. I do what's called improvising or instant composing. So I haven't decided beforehand how they're going to go. I've got a rough idea, but I tend to just make them up. And because I could repeat the same pattern, I didn't need to think about 20 different rhythm patterns. So say one of them was going to be rice, rice, naan bread, rice, because it nearly always is. I can now use the same idea at forte, at piano, and at mezzo forte, or nearly loud. And it just helps the music be a bit more varied, a little bit more interesting. So in our music, when we see it written down in a moment, I would like you to look out for those 3 dynamics: piano, mezzo forte, and forte, and see if you can find a way of either using your voice to differentiate, that means make them sound different, between the 3 dynamics, or if we were playing them somewhere, like on our bellies, we need to use a bit more space and a bit more energy for the louder dynamics. Okay. Another thing I said at the start of the lesson was we were going to think about the Popadom. And the Popadom I did talk about in the previous lesson. It was when we get 2 semiquavers and 1 quaver, and we put them next to each other, so we have a short, short, long sound. I also talked about Morse code, boop, 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 whichever way around we're going to go. And that combination makes the Popadom. So let's just have a look at this next piece of music. I'm going to move over a little bit so you've got some space to see it. And I've called this piece Mezzo Popadoms, which could mean almost Popadoms. That would be a good name for a band. The Almost Popadoms. So Mezzo Popadoms is a piece of music that has our crotchets, pairs of quavers, and our groups of 4 semiquavers, or rice, naan bread, and chicken tikka. It also has our new combination of a popadom, and it involves our 3 layers of dynamics, or 3 levels of dynamics. So we've got forte, piano, and mezzo forte. So I'm just going to read through this. We'll do it one line at a time. So the top line is marked forte, so it's loud. I'm going to run out of hands if I use microphones, but let's just try a loud microphone to start with. So here's a loud microphone for the first one. Nice and easy goes rice, naan bread, chicken tikka, rice. And then the next line is a little bit quieter. Naan bread, rice, popadom, rice. So we can see for the first time now that we have a popadom in there. Did you spot that one on the 3rd beat? Let's try line 2 again. So line 2 goes naan bread, rice, popadom, rice. And then I might need to turn my forte microphone down ever so slightly to get line 3, which has got a popadom at the beginning. Popadom, rice, popadom, rice. And then the last line would be even louder, which would go chicken tikka, popadom, rice. And there's a rest at the end of that one. And I have to look out for that when we get chicken tikka, popadom next to each other, because if I play those on my belly, we get 6 semiquavers next to each other. Chicken tikka, popadom, 6 short sounds. Okay, I'm going to see now if I can clap through the whole of this piece, the whole of Mezzo Popadoms. I'm going to use full hand for forte, 2 fingers for piano, and 3 fingers for mezzo forte. And I'm going to choose a sensible tempo, because clapping chicken tikka is a little bit tricky. There's a piece of music your parents will know called Grease Lightning. And in Grease Lightning, there's a section where people clap like that. There's also the Friends theme tune. No one told me life was supposed to be this way. And that's got a chicken tikka that is quite hard to clap at the right tempo. Anyway, slower tempo, and we'll try Mezzo Popadoms. Ready, steady, nice and slow. Rice, naan bread, chicken tikka, rice. Naan bread, rice, popadom, rice. Popadom, rice, popadom, rice. Okay, I'm going to try that again, but this time I'm going to mute my voice and see if I can hear, and see if you can hear, whether I'm getting 3 different levels of dynamic or not, because I'm not convinced myself. Here we go. So I'll try it without my voice this time. Off I go. And when we're doing our online lessons, oftentimes when things go through the internet or they've been recorded onto my phone and then they come out of your tablet or laptop or headphones, whatever it is, some of the dynamics get evened out a little bit, something that all music teachers have been struggling with a little bit, because lots of the internet programs that we use are designed to make our voices sound really clear. And when our dynamics get really big, then the phone says, oh, they can't mean it to be that loud, and the phone makes it a little bit quieter. And when they get really quiet, sometimes they give it a bit of a boost and they start making the quieter bits a little bit louder as well. So these will sound amazing when we all get back into the room together. Let's just have one more go through Mezzo Popadoms together with our claps. Off we go. And before we leave Mezzo Popadoms alone, I like saying that, we're going to see if we can do a quick quiz. So I'm going to play you one of the lines. It could be line 1, 2, 3 or 4. You know how this works by now. And if you think it's line 3, you can say 3 at your screen. You can practice doing a secret silent salute, because hopefully next week we'll get to do our secret silent salutes together again. And I'll learn how to say it by then too. Or it could be line 4 or line 1. So you can just show me which one you think it was. Okay, which line was this one? Again. That was line number 2. and I was using a number 2 to get my piano because it was quiet. How about this one? One more. So to me it sounded like it was loud. So that's something else that's going to help us recognize these rhythms. So that was going to be a forte line, and it also had a rest at the end, and it had a chicken tikka popadom joined all together to start with. So I think that was line 4. Okay, and one more. Where would it go? One more time. So I was trying to make that one sound mezzo forte, nearly loud, and that one went popadom rice, popadom rice. Okay. For a little bit of extra work and just to complete today's lesson, I'm going to include a link to a piece of music called Chicken and Chips. I wonder why I called it. Probably because I wasn't thinking of the rhythms popadom rice. I could have called it popadom rice, but it was called Chicken and Chips. And it's a piece of music written for a drum. And it has everything that we've been looking at today in mezzo popadoms. All those different elements. But it's really long compared to mezzo popadoms. I can't remember how long it is. He's got different sections in it that go from the beginning to letter E. So it goes A, B, C, D, E. So it's 6 lots of 4 bars. That's quite a lot of bars. And so I'm not really expecting you to be able to play it because we haven't got any drums, but hopefully you'll be able to follow it along. So if you can follow the bits of music that will be on the screen, see if you can spot where the popadoms happen, see if you can spot when it changes from piano to mezzo forte and to forte. And it was me playing it. It's quite a while ago because I had shorts on. So when I was performing this, and see if you can tell what happens with my drumsticks. I'm just going to create a mini earthquake while I get my drumsticks out. So when I'm playing my drumsticks and it's piano, I try and keep the stick as close to the drum as possible. When I'm playing it forte, I try and get a bit more height in my sticks. And when I'm playing it mezzo forte, I just bring the sticks a bit closer. So the energy that I talked about before comes from how far off the drum the sticks are going. And hopefully, because the drum's slightly better than my homemade instrument, which is a part of the percussion family because it can be shaken, hit and scraped. Because my drum works slightly better than that, you should be able to follow in a little bit more detail. And when we all get back together, it'll be fantastic to see you all again. We'll whiz through West Side a couple of times using some different bits of body percussion, and we'll get going on Chicken and Chips as well. Because I mentioned in this video that you're about to follow on to, Chicken and Chips was chosen to be a grade 1 piece by a national organisation called the Associated Board for the Royal Schools of Music. So people that have chosen to play Chicken and Chips are good enough to pass their grade 1 exam on a drum. So it'd be good for us all to have a go at that. Okay, take care of yourselves and I'll see you all really soon.